Former President Trump holding multiple campaign events today, one in Florida at a Latino summit, then in the swing state of North Carolina for the second day in a row. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more.
Former President Donald Trump participated in a roundtable at the Latino summit in Doral, Florida, just half an hour west of Miami. He said that his over 50-day streak of holding campaign events across the country is paying off, especially with Latino voters. Here's Trump Tuesday morning.
I just saw a poll that we're actually leading with Hispanics. That's never happened before. I actually think that the biggest thing is the border, because the border is destroying our country. It's really destroying.
Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, rallied in Arizona on Tuesday, voicing similar sentiment to the surge in illegal immigration and the subsequent drug trafficking at the southern border.
It is not compassionate to open the border and allow the Mexican drug cartels to get rich by selling poison to our citizens. It is not compassionate to allow the Mexican drug cartels to sex traffic children into the United States of America, and it is not compassionate to allow hundreds of thousands of American citizens to die of fentanyl overdoses.
Trump will hold a rally on Tuesday night in the city of Greensboro, North Carolina. It's the second consecutive day in the swing state, which was hit hard by Hurricane Helene. This comes a day after former President Trump stopped by a Pennsylvania McDonald's to hand out French fries to customers. It was an apparent mocking of Harris, saying she lied in 2019 by claiming she worked at McDonald's. The Harris campaign says that Trump's team hasn't proven that she wasn't an employee. But the controversy takes place in Pennsylvania, a critical swing state that could decide the election. It's the nation's largest battleground state with 19 electoral college votes. Both Trump and Harris have invested more money, energy, and time in Pennsylvania than any other state. The winners of the last two presidential races have been reflected in Pennsylvania, and it was by just tens of thousands of votes. And polls continue to show a tight race here. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And a federal judge today ordering former Trump attorney and New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani to turn over several of his valuable possessions to two former Georgia election workers. Federal Judge Louis Lehman ordering Giuliani to hand over several items, including jewelry and his Manhattan penthouse apartment, to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. The mother and daughter, who counted Georgia ballots back in 2020, won a multi-million-dollar defamation lawsuit against the former mayor in 2023. The court's ruling today marks the former poll worker's latest effort to have the judgment enforced. The women will also be entitled to about $2 million in legal fees, which Giuliani has said the Trump campaign still owes him. Giuliani must turn over his interest in the property within 7 days to a receivership the women will have control over. And a federal appeals court today upholding charges against hundreds of people who entered the Capitol on January 6, 2021. This decision comes years after defendant Couy Griffin appealed his 2022 conviction. Griffin argued he didn't know that the Capitol's grounds were restricted because then Vice President Mike Pence was inside. In a 2-1 ruling, the appeals court decided that breaching a restricted area violates the law. That includes those who did it unknowingly. Former President Obama joining Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, in the battleground state of Wisconsin. The team is urging people to get out and cast their ballots on the first day of early voting in that state. NTD national correspondent Jason Blair brings us the latest.
Democratic vice presidential nominee Governor Tim Walz and former President Obama have a strong message to thousands at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin.
Tim will be an outstanding vice president, but he's only going to be an outstanding vice president if you vote. And that's why you're here today.
It's the first day of early voting in the state. Madison and Dane County are strongholds for the Democrats, and voter turnout is a big focus for both candidates, with poll averages showing a tight race.
This thing's close. We're still the underdogs in this, and we know we're going to leave it all on the field. Wisconsin, you got same-day voter registration, and it's open today to get there and vote.
Obama is also scheduled to join Vice President Harris at a rally in Atlanta, Georgia on Thursday. It's also reported that Harris will be holding a rally in the Republican stronghold of Texas on Friday. According to the campaign, she'll be highlighting her stance on abortion, looking to rope in as many moderate voters as she can using publicity from the event. Texas is one of the most restrictive states in the country on abortion. Harris also sat down with NBC for an interview that aired Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, as well as Telemundo for a talk that's scheduled to air Wednesday night. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
And Russia behind the spread of false content against vice presidential nominee Tim Walz. It's according to a U.S. intelligence official who spoke on the condition of anonymity. The content went viral on social media last week, including fake videos alleging Walz's abusive behavior with students when he was a teacher and a football coach. The official said that the video showed multiple manipulation tactics consistent with the Kremlin's influence operations. With Election Day just around the corner, officials warning that U.S. adversaries will intensify their efforts to divide Americans. Is the Russia-Ukraine war going global? Reports suggest both North and South Korea could be sending military personnel to Europe. That's as Russian President Vladimir Putin is strengthening ties today with Communist China. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the latest.
The BRICS coalition is holding a summit in Russia on Tuesday. Leaders from countries such as China, Iran, Venezuela and others are gathering to strengthen ties with each other. Chinese leader Xi Jinping arrived in Russia's Kazan region on Tuesday. Russian President Vladimir Putin is using the BRICS summit to increase relations with the Chinese communist regime, calling Xi his dear friend.
I would like to once again congratulate you, dear friend, this time in person, for the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China.
In May, Xi and Putin pledged a new era of partnership. The two nations are the most powerful rivals of the United States. Russia often claims the U.S. is at fault for rising tensions between East and West. The State Department on Tuesday suggested that the U.S. isn't looking for conflict with BRICS member nations, including China.
When it comes to China, our goal and our intent is to continue to manage that relationship and manage that relationship responsibly.
And South Korea accuses North Korea of sending 1,500 troops to fight for Russia against Ukraine. NATO says that South Korean experts will brief the alliance on the issue next week. According to the NATO chief, this way they'll find out if North Korea is really sending troops to Russia.
If that would be the case, if they would be sending troops to Ukraine, that would mark a significant escalation.
A Korean journalist asked the State Department about reports that South Korea might send military personnel to Ukraine to counter North Korea's involvement. The spokesperson didn't comment directly, but suggested that the conflict in Ukraine now has a global impact.
The whole world, not just Europe, not just NATO allies, see the threat and the dangerousness and the recklessness from Russian action.
Meanwhile, in Ukraine, the country's prosecutor general is resigning in the wake of a domestic scandal. Dozens of officials are accused of abusing their positions to receive disability status and avoid military service. President Volodymyr Zelensky had previously called for accountability amid the scandal. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
The FBI confirming today that it is investigating the alleged leak of U.S. intelligence on Israel. The documents were posted on an Iran-linked Telegram account and reportedly describe Israel preparing to attack Iran. Meanwhile, in Israel, Secretary of State Antony Blinken meeting with officials today to push for a ceasefire deal. This came as Hezbollah terrorists continue to launch rockets into Israeli territory. NTD's Jason Perry has an update.
On Tuesday, sirens rang out in Tel Aviv as rockets flew overhead. There were no immediate reports of casualties as Israel's air defense systems continued to intercept many of the rockets. The Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorist group in Lebanon launched about 80 rockets at Israel before 3 in the afternoon, according to Israeli forces. This attack came just hours before Secretary of State Antony Blinken landed in Israel to meet with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to push for a ceasefire. According to a statement released by the Prime Minister's office, Netanyahu said there needs to be a security and diplomatic change in the north to allow Israeli citizens to return safely to their homes. He also said the recent death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar will likely have a positive influence on returning the hostages who are being held in the Gaza Strip. And on that same day, Hezbollah said there would be no negotiations while fighting with Israel, adding that, quote, "What is not taken by fire is not given with politics." Meanwhile, Israel continues to battle the terrorist group in Lebanon, releasing a video of a member of Hezbollah's elite forces firing at Israeli troops. He then goes inside this building before Israeli forces struck the area. Israel also reported striking a weapons storage facility in Lebanon, as well as Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure, a rocket launcher, and a Hezbollah operations room. And Israel has recently been targeting Hezbollah's financial network, striking nearly 30 financial institutions in Lebanon that it says were financing Hezbollah's terrorist activity. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari explained how Iran funnels money to the terrorist group in Lebanon.
Iran's Quds forces transfer money to Hezbollah from Iranian oil sold in Syria. Iran also sends suitcases of cash and gold by planes to the Iranian embassy in Beirut, and then directly it goes to Hezbollah.
Hagari also said that Israel discovered that Hezbollah's late former leader, Hassan Nasrallah, had hundreds of millions of dollars in cash and gold stashed in a bunker underneath a hospital in Beirut. He explained that the bunker had rooms and beds and infrastructure for long stays, with the ability to direct combat from underground. Hagari said that Israel will not strike the compound and that the Israeli Air Force is monitoring it. He also called on the Lebanese government and international organizations to not allow Hezbollah to use the money to fund terror or attacks against Israel. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.